Welcome to Let Me Ask You This, an axe throwing comedy podcast where guests get to come, learn how to throw axes. We sit down and chop it up about their life and goals, and then at the end they get to test their skills and split one of my custom playing cards. Stay tuned. Let me ask you this. Yeah, there's not really a stigma over piano guy. Oh, this guy always brings out his piano.
Yeah.
Ruins the campfire.
Just rolling out his baby grand.
On episode 1 of Let Me Ask You This, I've got my longtime friend Ante Saric, who may or may not have thrown axes before.
Hey-o! Wait, no, this way.
Ante, is this your first time throwing axes?
Actually, no, Dave. I am the WATL World Champion Axe Thrower, World Champion in the world.
I don't think you are.
Ages 6 to 9, though. There was a discrepancy with my paperwork, and while it's being appealed, either we can meet each other at nationals or, come take me on, Tanner.
Yeah, shout out Dominican birth certificates.
Big it up, big it up.
This first segment is called Honing the Edge, where I teach the guests how to throw. We help them dial in their aim and give them some tips and tricks on how to get better throws each time.
Big it up.
Okay, so basically what you want to do, you want to keep the axe at a 90-degree angle from your forearm, put your fist in the bullseye, non-dominant foot forward, and stick it. You know what I'm saying? You could go like all the way up over your head as long as you keep it on a pendulum.
Can I do it with two hands?
If you like.
Let's see.
If you do two hands, you want to make sure that you're going straight up over your head and release as soon as your fists come into your periphery. Straight over your head.
Straight over my head.
Yeah. Exactly.
Nice.
That counts as a 1. You don't even have to do all the way over your head. You can just go back, but you got to keep it on a straight pendulum.
Whoo! Close.
Getting better. Dialing it in. Ante is dialing it in.
Sometimes they call me the lumber liquidator.
Are you flicking the wrist?
I'm not flicking the wrist.
Yeah, don't flick the wrist.
Or then that means I am flicking the wrist.
Well, I don't know if you are or not.
Whatever I should be doing, I'm not.
All right, so welcome to Chopping It Up, where I sit down with the guests and we talk about their hopes, dreams, aspirations. Ante, you and I threw axes roughly 3 years ago, and during that time, I joked that people had been asking me to start a podcast, and I said, well, maybe I could start a podcast called Let Me Ask You This. Let Me Ask You This.
Right.
Rather. And while we were throwing axes, we talked about it, and then here we are 3 years later in classic Dave fashion. It takes me forever to get anything done. Judging by, the time it is right now, you've been here for a couple hours already, so I really appreciate you donating your time to us today.
It's my pleasure, Dave.
So, when we were throwing axes, you were the lumber liquidator. I was Wartooth after Toki Wartooth from Metalocalypse. What type of fun did you have that day?
We kind of did it. It was a Saturday morning,
10 a.m.
Yeah, it was real early and we went down there. I didn't know what to expect really. You had gotten these promo tickets for this. No?
No, I was dating a girl who I bought. I was like, hey, let's go axe throwing. And she's like, okay. And then literally
That's even better.
30 minutes before every appointment, she pulled her titties out and I'd have to fucking email them and reschedule. And finally they told me, you can't reschedule anymore. You have to come. And I asked her, like, do you even want to do this? She's like, no. And I'm like, okay, well, you could have told me that 4 times ago.
Yeah.
So then that's when me and you went. And I told her, I told you, I told everybody that I was going to walk in there and win. I mean, granted, we were against, a family.
Yeah.
Whatever, but.
It was, yeah. I mean, I didn't know what to expect when we got there, and we walked in, and they paired us with that family, and I was just like, okay, well, this is my Saturday morning, and you did say that you were gonna destroy at the axe throwing, and usually when my friends make bold comments like that initially off the bat, I'm like, whatever,
Right.
But you honestly, you delivered, and that was the whole, like you said, the whole jump off for where we are today. I was just like, you did so well at that made this happen.
Right. And coincidentally enough, I had the space in the garage to actually make it happen.
Right.
So, you and I met each other probably 23 years ago-ish, 22 years ago-ish.
Yeah.
When I pledged the Sigma Nu fraternity, where I almost got kicked out of in my pledge semester, you were one of the people who stood up for me.
Of course.
My public speaking teacher, I gave a public speaking speech about the fraternity.
Yeah.
I used some visual aids I was instructed not to, and I said, well, we faked them anyway, so I'm going to use them. And then everybody finds out about it, and I almost get kicked out. My teacher told me that he rolled his eyes when he heard that my presentation was going to be up about the fraternity, and then afterward he said it was the best one he'd ever heard.
Oh, wow.
So I try to, keep that feather in my cap. But what was your first impression when we met back 15, 20 years ago?
You were definitely 100% not what I expected. Like, you come rumbling in and you have this portrait, like this personality, and it was totally like 100% emitted confidence from you 100% of the time. And I was just like, wow, this guy, he really knows himself. I thought you were hilarious in a weird kind of humor way. The deliciously damp Dave business, sometimes wearing a visor upside down just for the fun of it and, the laughs. Yeah, you were definitely, 100% a character right from the rip. How could you not, enjoy meeting someone like that?
And what's funny is when I joined, I'm looking at you as an idol. I'm like, this dude is out here playing guitar, slaying poon, singing songs, starting bands. You were a couple years ahead of me, and I looked up to you huge. Your band No Life, destroyed the music scene. It was amazing.
I don't know that we destroyed the music scene per se, but we definitely had a good time, and we had a few songs that I really enjoyed singing for. The best part about it was just getting everybody out there and singing along, and it was a great time. But I don't know that we were slaying the music scene.
You ask anybody from 1999, 2000, 2001, No Life was killing it, and that's all there is to it. I don't hear anything different. So what was one of the crazier party experiences you had in college?
How much am I allowed to say, really? I've signed a few non-disclosure agreements, made some blood pacts. What's that?
Say it all.
Yeah, say it all. Crazy college experiences. There was, we lived off campus for a while, a group of us, and it was 492 Brown, and we had a party one night. It was a full moon, and everything just went sideways, like not in a bad way, but just in a what is going on way. There was somebody passed out on the counter of the kitchen sink. I can't even recall what happened. It was just pure insanity, to the point where I woke up the next morning and I just drew on a T-shirt before I went to class that day. I survived the all-out drunken sex fest at 492 Brown. It was, I don't know, things went wild that night.
Right on. Did Sammy attend that event?
You'd have to ask other people, because Sammy and I are never in the same place at the same time.
For those of you that don't know, Sammy is Ante's blacked out alter ego, who Ante is not responsible for anything Sammy does. My blacked out alter ego has been Jaeger Dave at one point.
Yeah, I
and then
remember.
Also Whiskey Dave.
Indeed. Yeah, Sammy would come out of nowhere, and luckily I've kept him at bay for many, many, many good years. He should remain locked and buried away, but he is a good time though, and he introduces himself to everybody.
Yeah, my favorite Sammy moment was when Sammy punched through the thick security glass on the side door of the Sigma Nu house. That was probably my favorite.
I still have scars on my hand from that, no joke.
Nice.
I mean, and Sammy, you would always know when Sammy was around because he would tell you, because like his catchphrase was, my name's Sammy. That's pretty much all he said to people.
Nice. One of the first, one of my favorite, not favorite memories of us is our first trip whitewater rafting.
This is deep.
I mean, we don't have to talk about
No,
it.
go episode 0.
Yeah.
Episode 0.
We went whitewater rafting. I think it was my second summer at college, and me being a new marijuana user, I'm like, I want to bring the kitchen sink. I've got a giant bag full of fucking everything that you could need to smoke weed, and your literal exact words to me were, "You don't need to bring all that shit." And I'm like, "Bro, we're hanging out."
Yeah,
I'm like,
it was entirely too much of everything.
Yeah, I mean, it was a ridiculous amount, and we had a blast on the camping trip.
We did.
Fun was to be had. I didn't go whitewater rafting because I got in on it late, so I just basically smoked weed in camp all weekend. And then on the way back, we stopped. What was the place we stopped at? The named sandwiches.
Oh, the
I know the sandwiches we got. I got the
Tudor's Biscuit World.
Tudor's Biscuit World.
Yeah.
We got the Duke and the Mr. T. Mm-hmm. I had the sticker from my sandwich on my visor when we're doing 88 miles an hour on 77 North, like we're trying to fucking get back to the future.
Yeah,
And
smoking a joint at the same time.
we had been driving forever, not smoking. And then all of a sudden I say, "Hey, you want to smoke?" Mm-hmm. And you're like, "Yeah, sure." We're smoking a bowl of some kind bud. And I'm like bent down. It was kind bud in the year 2000, bro. Listen. Yeah. And so I like lean down, I'm hitting the bowl, and as soon as I look up, there's a state trooper standing on the side of the expressway with a speed gun, clocking people. And we're like the third car of a group of 3 that are all, or no, we're the second car of a group of 3 doing 88 miles an hour in a 55. And we're like, oh shit, we panic, we put the bowl away, we do. As a matter of fact, you gave me a cigarette. I lit and smoked.
I remember that. Yeah.
Which is absolutely the opposite of my character. And then the state troopers came up and drove past us. We thought we were in the fucking clear.
Yeah.
And then this woman walks out into the middle of the road.
Said this woman.
It is what it is, man. Listen, I say bitch sometimes. It is what it is. This bitch walks out in the middle of 77 and points at our car and tells us to pull over. So, the state trooper points at us and tells us to pull over. They pull over all 3 cars.
What I should have done is I should have just kept driving and been like, I didn't see you point to me to pull over.
I didn't see you walk into the center lane of 77 North.
Yeah. Also, I am high.
Yeah. And, hindsight 2020, we should have threw all that shit out the window.
Right.
But long story short, we get busted. They find a little bit of kind bud, and then they find all the dirt weed that I've got in my book bag. He's pulling paraphernalia and drugs out of my bag like it's Santa Claus's never-ending sack.
Yeah, can I tell you something about that day that you probably don't know?
What's that?
Now, you recall that they sat me in the back of that the trooper car, right?
Yeah, he took you back.
Yeah, and the whole time he was searching the vehicle, I was making faces in the car like, what? Like, what is that? What? Like, in case there was a camera on in the car, and later I could be like, I had no idea he had that stuff on him. I was mentally acting out, surprise.
So, put all the blame on me.
Throw you under the bus 100%.
Which is where it where it belonged because
Yeah.
you being someone I looked up to and
Yeah.
an older person in the fraternity, you said, hey, don't bring all that.
Yeah, I either consumed mine or was able to ingest it.
Right. And here I am with Santa Claus's sack. So, long story short, they confiscate all of our paraphernalia. They let us go. They take our licenses, and he's like, are you guys going to come back from your court date? And we're like, hell yeah.
Hashtag white privilege.
Yeah, white privilege all day. And so we had to go back for court. Then we get into court. We're the last two people to have to go up before the judge.
Yeah.
I go up. The judge reads me the riot act, is giving me trick questions. Why shouldn't I put you in jail right now? And I'm like, what? Because this is my first offense. He's like, is it your first offense or the first
Time you got caught.
I'm like, God damn it. Where do you go to school? I go the University of Akron. Oh, Concrete U.
Yeah.
I'm like, I guess that's what they call it. I have no idea. Puts me through all this bullshit and ends up saying, okay, pay this, do that, and shuffles me out.
He took out your driver's license and he showed it to you, and he was like, look at this boy. Look at this boy right here. Does he look like someone who would do the things that you did? Or?
No. He said, does this look like the face of somebody who belongs in prison?
Oh, yeah.
And I said, no.
Yeah. Please, God, no.
Full disclosure, my license at that time was from when I was 16. I had a parted bowl cut that was shaved up under bleach blonde. So I was fucking major dudage.
Polo shirt for show.
Yeah. If they would have arrested us that day, I would have had an upside down visor in my fucking mugshot.
Yeah. Then they brought me up, and the judge was like, I'm going to spare you the whatever I put your friend through. And I was like, yeah,
torture,
please. Yeah.
The torture I put your friend
Yeah. And then he insinuated that I was some kind of a groomer.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. The funniest part to me was that he assumed that you were the ringleader.
Yeah. 100%.
Little did he know that you were the words
responsible.
of wisdom, trying to tell me leave all that shit at home. So
yeah.
That was a lesson learned. Now I throw that shit out the window as soon as they roll up.
Then I was walking away, and he was.
Maybe we should talk about that though, Dave.
Well, that's when you come on, Paul. Don't you worry about that one. We got plenty of stuff to talk to Ante about.
Yeah.
When we have Paul on, we'll talk about the time I ran from the cops. Stay tuned
For the episode Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah, I walked away from there, and I was leaving the room. The judge was like, and then there's the matter of your speeding ticket. And I was like, oh, man, still got to do that part of it.
Yeah, but then what'd you tell him? You said,
I was like, there's no way I was driving 88 miles an hour smoking a joint while having all that stuff in the back of my car. And then he knocked it. Yeah, he knocked it down to whatever was
he
like.
Dismissed it. He dropped the traffic, didn't he?
No, he maybe did. All I know is I lost my license for 6 months, and 4 months later, my mom came to visit, and I got in a car accident.
So this will tell us whether he charged you with your traffic violations or not. How much was your fine? Because my fine and court costs came out to $420.
Yeah, I didn't write it down in my notepad.
Well, I remembered because they go, yeah, you owe us $420, and I went,
yeah. You don't say.
Man, that was some wild stuff that you threw all that. You threw me under the bus when it came to your mother. I remember that.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
When it comes to my mother, everyone gets thrown under the bus.
Yeah.
As long as the spotlight isn't on me.
For sure. Back many years ago, shortly after that, I would say probably 2005, you taught me how to use Photoshop.
Yeah.
A skill that I utilize to this day. What got you into Photoshop?
Honestly, I think what got me into it originally was creating fake movie posters for things that I would have, casting that I would like to see in movies.
Was this related to bluetights.net?
That's when I really, started doing it earnestly, like daily, committing to working on stuff. But yeah, I was on bluetights.net talking about the upcoming Brandon Routh starring Superman movie. And so I taught myself how to use the Photoshop. And I still to this day, I probably take a lot of long cuts. But that's probably why. Fan casting nerdism.
Yeah. What would you say is the favorite creation that you've made?
I did two different magazine covers. For one was called Metropolis Magazine. Well, two different magazine covers of Lex Luthor that are like set in the Metropolis world, and I used Tom Hardy for one, and the other one was he plays Vision in the Marvel universe. What is his name?
Paul Bettany.
Paul Bettany, thank you. And there were two very distinct, very different mood covers, but both very Lex Luthor, depending on how you take your Lex. Is he dark and brooding? What's this guy like? Or is he like some kind of tech genius out there, celebrity style,
Right on. So if there was one skill that you could just pick up instantly, what would you want it to be?
Flight, human flying. Is that a skill? Or are we talking superpowers or? Yeah.
I was gonna say superpower is definitely different than a skill.
Right.
Sure.
Probably, honestly, I took piano lessons when I was a kid, and when I see videos of somebody in a shopping mall or on the street, and they just walk up to a piano and just start, wailing on the piano, or even if another person comes over and joins them and sits next to them and plays, like, I wish I had stuck with piano lessons, because that is a skill I would love to have. You mentioned earlier that I played guitar in college. I played guitar poorly, right. And I enjoyed doing that for the outcome of it all. But for me, I think the piano and just being able to entertain, like, you can entertain so many people just jamming out on the piano, if there happens to be one in the room.
Yeah, there's not really a stigma over piano guy. Oh, this guy always brings out his piano.
Yeah.
Ruins
You're just rolling out this baby grand onto the dance floor or whatever, down the hallway, and you're like, bring. Yeah, dude.
Right on. It's funny because I was in a band and I played keyboard in the band, and every time you would touch my keyboard, you would be better than me, and I'm like, fuck this, man. Hey, stay away from my equipment.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to have you replace me in FaceMaker.
Never.
So what's something about yourself that surprises people when they first hear it?
My name. They're like, Ante. No, probably, I'm maybe I speak 3 languages.
Right. If you were going to say anything other than being trilingual, I was going to say wrong.
It's being trilingual.
Speak what? Croatian, English, and Spanish?
Correct, yeah. But through no work of my own. I mean, all credit goes to my parents. Like, I wasn't out there like studying Spanish and Croatian. I was just a brain sponge.
Yeah, that doesn't matter. And let me tell you something. When you find out that somebody speaks other languages, a lot of the times it's like one of those situations where they're like, hey, I'm trilingual. Mm-hmm. With you, we're sitting around faded in your fucking room in the fraternity house, and you get a phone call and you go, everybody be quiet.
Yeah. And
then all of a sudden you just start speaking flawless Croatian. And
it catches people off guard.
No, it wrinkled the brains of everybody sitting in the room. Like, what the fuck? What are some times that you've surprised people with that? Have you like flexed it on people? Or on dates or whatever?
100%. I never flex it on people. It just it either comes up naturally, or I'll be in a room where my mom calls me, and that's usually how it gets started. And I'm just like, and I did have one time I was working in Twinsburg, and my mom called while I was in the office, and I had a conversation with her, and a woman named Brenda, who I used to work with, kind of kept popping her head, walking by my office while I was talking to my mom. And when I got off the phone, she came in, she popped her head in the room, and she said, I'm sorry, but I don't like it when people speak in foreign languages around me.
What?
And I was like, okay, I'm sorry, but that's how it's going to... I'm like, trust me, Brenda, we are not talking about you. But now... we'll probably talk about you. Because I'm like, what else is going to happen in that situation? I'm like, this is, my native tongue. And honestly, when I talk to my mom, I use a complete language of its own, because I I cross over from English to Croatian to Spanish, all in one sentence sometimes. Like,
Croalish.
yeah, if I can't think of a word right off the rip from that I want to think of in Croatian, I'll switch to Spanish, and then I'll be like, "Whatever, mom," and end it with an American word, and people are like, "What is going on?"
Dobra, kako sa ti,
Yeah.
Dr. Pepper.
Yeah,
That is the four. Well, actually, probably like 12. 4 of the 12 words of Croatian
Yeah.
that Ante has taught me throughout our friendship. Yeah, that's great. So I wanted to talk about your work. With your work, you're traveling all the time. We're very fortunate to have you with us this afternoon, actually. And, is it a blessing or is it a curse?
the travel for work.
Yeah.
It's both. I mean, I get to see a lot of places that I normally wouldn't go. Like I went to Birmingham, Alabama and Huntsville, Alabama, knowing nothing about these cities and like exploring them and learning about the history there and eating the food there and just being like, these are pretty awesome towns. Same thing, Austin, Texas. I had never been there. That's a place that some people go on like a bachelorette party or a bachelor party.
Mm-hmm.
I never went there. I happened to go there for work and I went there. So, but the curse part is, sometimes the travel wears on you. Flights get canceled and you're stuck in Chicago and you're making the debate on, do I wait for the next flight or do I just get a rental car and drive the 6 hours home from here?
Right.
Or, I'm 6 hours into an 8-hour drive home from Kentucky and I'm like, this is miserable. But, sometimes like I said, I get to explore places and I always look for what's going on in town and what's the food to eat when I'm there.
Right. So what is a city or a state that's, surprised you in your travel?
I will say, like I mentioned earlier, I will say Huntsville because I love outer space. Like I'm a big fan of, space movies. I have a love affair with the moon. I wanted to be an astronaut when I was a kid, and I had no idea for Lord knows what reason that the space program, the United States space program, either got its start pretty much in Huntsville, Alabama. That's where they were launching the rockets from, and I got to go to the U.S. Robotics and Aerospace Museum and see like the Apollo rockets and the different lander modules and sit in them and see exactly how cramped and how old school and like, wow, there's literally dials and buttons and levers on this thing. And
The minutia of being an astronaut.
Right. Back in the start of the space program. And so that's that part of being in Huntsville, and eating, Southern Alabama barbecue, it really did surprise me.
Nice. What's a place that you don't ever want to go to again?
Bakersfield, California.
He said that with authority. There wasn't even a split second of hesitation. Tell us why.
Listen, I don't, it's not that I don't like Bakersfield. It's just that I had been there so many times for work and, you fly into LAX and then you have to drive 2 hours, which turns into three and a half with California traffic. And that stretch of drive is just so boring. And I've been there so many times and it's just like you can only do so much. It would be that or West Texas because there is absolutely nothing to do in West Texas. I got to this West Texas, Monahans, Texas, and I ran into somebody in town and I asked him, where's a good place to get food in town? And the guy says, the McDonald's is pretty good. Yeah. And I was just like, wow. I mean, I meant something else. He's like, Dairy Queen's pretty good too. I'm like, Dairy Queen is McDonald's. I'm like,
so you talked to the Dave Herron of this West Texas town,
yeah,
is what you did.
yeah. Here's where you can get a sandwich without any vegetables on it.
Yeah,
yeah. But then I was so it was every town was 30 minutes away, at least a 30-minute drive. I had to drive like so far just to find like real civilization, and I was so bored when I was out there that I was out there for 4th of July weekend, and I ended up driving 8.5 hours across the state of Texas to Houston so I could spend 4th of July weekend with my friends, the Everhards, who happen to live there. And then that weekend was over, 4th of July weekend was over, 8.5 hours back to Monahans, Texas. They had just gotten a Sonic. Everyone hung out there.
Right. Did they have truck night like they do around here?
I paid not much attention to that.
Right on. If, let's say, title work put your jersey in the rafters and you never had to work again, what would you do?
Like, money wise doesn't matter.
Money's not an object. You don't have to work anymore.
Ooh, what would I do? You know, I've always, had aspirations of being a musician or a actor or, for me, I think for me, honestly, nothing is better than being on stage in front of an audience. And whether that be performing in a band, singing in a band, or performing on stage in a musical or something, or theater of that nature, like that live kind of entertainment where, anything can go wrong at any second. And when it does, you trust on the people that are on the stage with you to pick it up and keep it moving, and then getting the reaction from the audience when you put on a good performance. I mean, that just gets it going for me.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously No Life, and you were also in a band, phenomenal band, Jetpacks On, with our friends Corey and Justin and them, Ian Everhard that you just mentioned.
Absolutely.
I think we would all shoot that up. I think we've all been in that performance stage where we're just like, yes, I would. If I could put this drug in a needle, I'd probably shoot it up.
Yeah, the excitement, the feedback, the lights, the whole environment, the whole vibe of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, being able to kill on stage in front of a crowd, it's like an attention whore's dream. After Facemaker dissolved and, I went a couple years not being on stage, and I decided, I wanted to do comedy since I was young, but I was too big of a pussy to actually do it. And then when I finally did it, the first time I did comedy, I was like, oh, there's that feeling again. I want more of that. That's
right.
Where it's at, so.
Yeah. It's that nerves and excitement blending into like a feeling you can't describe.
Straight dopamine.
Yeah.
Straight dopamine.
You're right. You're right.
You're like, oh, I'm getting rewarded for my ridiculousness.
Right.
It's beautiful.
Right into your veins.
I feel it.
What's the best date you've been on?
Anywhere I go by myself.
That's probably one of the most solid answers I've ever got. So what's the worst date you've been on?
Pretty much everywhere I've been with myself. No, I've been on good dates and bad dates. I don't know that I can pinpoint one. I mean, I tell some story. I take a girl to the restaurant in Tremont, and she asked me why I brought her to the ghetto, and I'm just like, wow, you really don't know where we really are.
You should have been
this is
more
like the artsy district
in your profile.
Yeah. I was asked to walk her back to her car so she wouldn't get accosted, and I'm like, I think you'll be okay, but I'm going to do it anyway because I'm a gentleman. That girl during dinner didn't. If I wasn't talking, there was no conversation. Like, I drove everything. It was very uncomfortable and weird. I was happy to get out of it. And then on my drive home, she texted me and told me she had a good time and was wondering when she could see me again. And I was just like, probably never.
Right on. That's one of the things that I always ask because, you're out there dating, doing the thing. Now, when it comes to your talent, we touched on your vocal talent. You talked about that part of it. Me being your friend and watching it from behind the scenes, I'm aware of your lyrical talent as well, your writing talent.
Thank you.
What is it with you and mashups?
I don't know. I think it's like because it's just unexpected, and sometimes I say that every song has already been written, and anything that's new is just a play on something that's already been done. And I just love finding that common groove between songs and just surprising people. Like, I'll go up on stage for karaoke and I'll request one song, and everybody immediately they expect what's coming.
Right.
It's like, oh, here comes this song.
Oh, I've seen it. It's amazing.
And then I start singing something else, and they're like, "Wait, what?" And I've had people come in from another room to like, "What is going on here? What is this? What song is being sung here?" So I've just always loved that unexpectedness of it and the common thread through the music. And it's great when you can just take two songs that are very opposing ends of the spectrum and meld them together.
Yeah, I mean that's the whole point.
Right.
What's your like dream mashup if you could do?
A dream mashup?
Don't spoil anything you might have in the wheelhouse.
Yeah. No, I mean, it could be anything really. Oh, wow.
There's not one that sticks in your craw?
Something that I would love to see mashed together.
Yeah, by yourself or anybody else?
Gosh, man, that's really putting me on the spot.
I'll tell you.
I could name 2 totally random songs and say I love, Killing in the Name of, and I also love The Hills Are Alive with the Sound of Music, and let's hear that mashup.
Dude, I swear to God, if you don't do that.
I was just telling him about this earlier. I was like, I was literally talking to him about, like, to other random people, like, my buddy would fucking do these mashups at karaoke. It was fucking epic. It's just like, how do you even think on that level?
It's a lot.
I was like, God damn it.
It's a lot of research.
Yeah,
it's so much deep dive. Yeah.
You can't just fucking wing it.
Yeah.
That's the worst is when you go to karaoke some shit and the lyrics that you're about to sing aren't even on there.
Yeah.
You have to know that song 100%.
Right.
One of the ones I tried to get Facemaker to do was I wanted to mash up I Don't Like the Drugs, but the Drugs Like Me by Marilyn Manson, and I Need a New Drug by Huey Lewis and the News.
Right.
And they're like, no, it won't work. And I'm like, yeah, but that's the point. We just take a little bit from each and we make it work. I thought it would be dope.
Absolutely.
Paul, will you grab that album from, it's probably sitting over on that counter over there on the table next to that chair? Yeah, you know which album I'm talking about? Yeah. Okay. So we've talked about, No Life and JPO. This, Let Me Ask You This podcast is partially spawned from the time we went axe throwing. Also, a lot of time in the pandemic, sitting around thinking, what can I do to be creative when everything's shut down? When we were shut down for the pandemic, you took the opportunity to be creative, and you created what was called Secret Sante.
Yeah.
Can you tell everybody what Secret Sante was about?
So, as we all know, the pandemic was a weird time for everybody, and it's just like, it was before we knew what it all really was. There was anxiousness, there was sadness, there was wanting to be able to hang out with friends and family and not being able to, and I just came up with this idea, like, what can I do to, like, kind of lighten the mood? And it happened to be around Christmas time, and I was just like, let's play some games. And I decided that the prize of these games would be a very special, gift from me to you for Christmas. At that time, I had no idea what it was going to be. No clue. And I was just like, I'll think of something. Because you've seen those dumb emails that are like, if you buy just one gift for someone, you'll get like 7 gifts in return if we keep this chain going. Yeah. And I'm like, or, sign up, be the first 20 people on my Facebook thing to sign up for this, and I'll send you something special. That's that kind of thing that I don't think ever really works, spawned what I decided to do. And then I was just having fun playing games with my friends. And then I decided, okay, the gift is going to be me, the gift of Ante. And I decided I'm just going to record a Christmas album, and I'm going to go into the studio, being my walk-in closet, and I'm going to drink Christmas beers, and I'm going to record some Christmas songs, and I'm going to make an album out of it, and I'm going to send it to these people who, quote unquote, win these games on my Secret Sante broadcasts on Facebook.
Yeah, and when I started to see your posts on Facebook or whatnot, I'm like, what the fuck is Ante doing? I paid very little attention until somebody mentioned it to me, like, hey, did you check into that? I'm like, oh, I have no idea what he's doing. And then next thing I know, you're doing live events, you're involving people, everybody's locked down, but they're still able to like tune in and participate. Did you have any fan participation that first year, or was it all you?
All the fan participation was done through just like posting on things that I posted on Facebook. But I was like overwhelmed with how much response I got. Like people wanting to, they're like, I don't know what this is, and I don't know what I could potentially win, but it's a distraction, and I'm gonna play. And I don't know, I just had a ton of fun doing it.
Yeah, and then the people who participated in that one, they got a surprise gift in the mail. Joe, can we get a close-up on this here? This is Ante, All You Want for Christmas Is Me, which is the most Ante title of a song ever. And then when you take a look at the back, there's even some smell-o-vision. There's the track listings and everything.
Yeah.
The amount of work, how much work did you put into this?
I put a fair amount of work into it. I mean,
A fair amount is a humble way to say you put a shit ton of work.
That's 100% correct. Yeah. I mean, and like I said, it was just fun, but sometimes the process wasn't fun. I could spend 2 hours in the closet recording and being like, all that was junk, and I'm going to start over again tomorrow. And I came up with that stuff, and I didn't tell anybody. And even when I did it the first year, I didn't really tell people. I'm like, I'm just going to throw this out there and see what kind of response I get. And the response was overwhelming, like I said, and the people who have told me that's their favorite Christmas album. I've gotten my videos of my friends' kids singing along to it in their house in the middle of summertime.
Tara Custer's kids.
Yeah. And it's just Corey's it's stuck in his stereo, so he has no choice but to listen to it sometimes. But I'm planning on getting the next Christmas album out this year. I don't know what it's going to be called yet, but one of the ideas is All You Want for Christmas Is Me Again.
Absolutely. So, you told me, hey, you should participate in my thing. And so I took a look. I participated, and then I received this album in the mail. I threw it into my PlayStation because that was the only device in my house that would play it.
Yeah, I'm like a generation behind on media. I'm like, hey, play this. Have a compact disc. It's 2020.
The amount of people that reached out to you telling you that they didn't have a CD player was ridiculous.
They're like, can you put this on YouTube, please? Because I have no other way to listen to this. I think it's a great thought, but...
And let me tell you, I popped in All You Want for Christmas Is Me by Octavius, and my mind was fucking blown. There's, traditional Christmas songs on there, and then there's some Ante-ass Christmas songs.
Yeah.
Dude, French Lemonade is probably my favorite Christmas song ever, which is also a mashup. How did you come up with that?
Literally, so when I was downloading, I got all my music off of YouTube, and they're all basically... karaoke versions of songs that are, there's no rights or whatever to them, just sing along. And literally what happened is I downloaded a version of Let It Snow, and then when I started listening to it, I was just like, God, why am I having such a brain fart of my own album?
Winter Wonderland?
Yes, Winter Wonderland. So I downloaded a karaoke version of Winter Wonderland, and it started playing, and I naturally just sang Let It Snow over it. I literally thought it was a version of Let It Snow that I had downloaded. And when it got to the chorus and I caught on that it's like walking in a winter wonderland, I'm like, oh, we're on to something here. And I'm like, then it just spanned into, let's make it a skit about two Antes, one who wants to sing the right version of the song and one who's just going to goof on it and make the other one annoyed. And it just kind of went from there, and they have their little conversation in the middle. And yeah, it was fun playing two slightly different versions of myself.
Dude, it was one of the most Ante things I've ever heard, and I absolutely loved it to death. What about and forgive me, I can't remember the name. What about the Taylor Swift cover? Because that's the star of the entire album.
Yeah.
Children and patrons are concerned.
Right. It's taken off, and it's basically the story of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer that I sang over the music to "Shake It Off" by Taylor Swift. Now, I've never made a secret about not being how much of a Taylor Swift fan I am not. People take a lot of umbrage with my opinion of Taylor Swift because there's so many T-Swifty fans out in the world. God bless them. God bless them. Taylor is just not for me. But I will tell you one thing. Her music is easy to manipulate into something that you want it to be. And so, and especially Shake It Off. It is a fun song, you know, and the video is fun. And I just heard that and I was just like, let's make this about Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And it just went from there. And I just listened to Taylor Swift over and over. I'm like, okay, she harmonizes here. Okay, she does this thing down here. This is how she ends this line. And I'm like copycatting her to the best of my ability, you know, in my voice. But I dedicated a lot of time to listening to T Swift.
Dude, you know, when you put that on YouTube, I thought for sure next thing you know, you would see Ontavious on Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah. His Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer song went viral. Honestly, I listened to that song and I jokingly to myself, I'm like, this is the perfect theme song to like a new animated Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer movie. And because kids will be like, because they know that song, but then they know Rudolph and like I mentioned earlier, like Tara's kids, I think they think that that's the song. Like there is no Shake It Off by Taylor Swift. Right. There's only Taken Off by Ontavious.
That's what's up. So year one was the album was the gift. Year two, you stepped stuff up. You got a bunch of customized Secret Asante. You went online and made it like more of a interactive show where guests could participate.
Yeah.
You had me on as a guest. What were some of the roadblocks that you ran into with that?
I mean, just learning how to put it all together and have somebody on and, you know, multicast people, because I've never done anything like this before. I'm flying by the seat of my pants out here. And just that part of it and like, you know, once other people started participating, it opened it up for other people to feel more comfortable doing so. And then I had people texting me while I'm broadcasting saying, hey, I want to participate. I want to be a part of it. And I'm taking breaks so I can, you know, refreshen my beverage or whatever, set up the next game or whatever. And I'm trying to get, you know, people involved as best as I can. I don't know that I stepped it up with the ornaments and the socks and the different gifts that I gave out year two. I think that the album was like, you can't top that unless you're making, you know, another album or a Christmas special.
Right. With video production.
Yeah.
Right on. So, without giving too much away, what can people expect from Secret Sante Season 3?
Well, I always said I just wanted to get bigger each time. Just I would love to have more interaction and almost more like in-person interaction now that, you know, COVID, it's never going to be over. Let's be real. Right. It's going to be something that, like the cold, it's going to be around forever, I think. But people are more lax about it now that they've had, you know, the vaccines and things like that, and they're more comfortable being out. I would love to move to like a full-on, like late night talk show type setup and have people in person and interview them like that. Still play the games and. On top of what I'm doing with the gifts for the people who win is I also love my friend Sarah told me a long time ago, she's like, if you're going to do something that's driven by your ego, you need to balance it out with something charitable. So when I had my 40th birthday party, I also gave out prizes, and every one of the prizes had my face on them in some way, shape, or form. Golf balls that had my face on them that say, you know, play around with Ante's balls, or chocolate with my face on them, or a full-on blanket with my face on it. But I also, I passed around a bucket to have everybody donate money that I gave to a charity that puts on birthday parties for homeless children and children in transitional housing. And then when I did the Secret Sante things for everybody that won an album, I also donated money in their name to the Toys for Tots program, because I didn't want it to be like, here's your present, it's me. But I also want to like encourage people to like, okay, he did this, but he also donated money to charity for people who are less fortunate, and get people to kind of start thinking about that. So not only do I want Tis the Season 3 of Secret Sante to be like bigger, but I would love to like be able to raise a lot of money for a program like that helps out, because I can give and get as many presents as I can, and I probably have more than I need, like many people do. And for kids who don't at Christmas time, I would love nothing more than for them to have kind of a special day like we all get.
Right. Makes sense. Well, it's really fun. Anybody who's seeing this come Christmas time, tune into Ante's Facebook, YouTube. You can listen to the Christmas album on YouTube. One of my favorite parts I forgot to mention is how you start off singing "All You Want for Christmas Is Me."
Yeah, it's horrible.
Like you're going to cover the Mariah Carey version.
Yeah. And
then it bleeds into French Lemonade. It's brilliant.
Thank you.
If you're seeing this, go check that out immediately. You won't be disappointed. I want to talk about a time that you were extremely excited for something, and then it ended up being a giant disappointment.
Are you talking about my marriage? Was that a question, or you're about to bring a topic up?
Well, I mean, I'm leading you.
Thank you.
I'm
Okay.
lobbing it up to you.
Oh.
A time that we were really excited for something.
Oh, yeah.
And then it became a big disappointment.
100%, yeah.
Like the time we saw Dave Chappelle
or the
and
time
Childish Gambino.
Yeah, the time we saw the Dave Chappelle for literally 10 seconds, not even, in Radio City Music Hall in New York City. Wow, what an experience that was. We had front row tickets. You had acquired front row tickets to see Dave Chappelle at Radio City Music Hall with musical guest Childish Gambino. And
once in a lifetime show.
You came to me and you were like, because you knew that you could exploit a couple things, that I'm not tied down. I can pretty much do whatever I want. And it was also my birthday month. And you're like, he'll do whatever. You'll manipulate me into going.
And expendable income.
Yes. Yep. And because you told me a price for the tickets, and I was like, whoo, Daisy.
Do you not want to give out the price?
No. And
but it's front row to see a once-in-a-lifetime show with Dave Chappelle, Childish Gambino.
True. Well, okay, you told me.
Radio City Music Hall.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You told me they were going to be like $800. And I was like, wow, man, can I have 24 hours to think about it? And you said, sure. And then I did some digging of my own. And I'm like, hey, if we just move, to row S, we can save ourselves, $600 or whatever. And you're like, no. And eventually I was just like, okay, yeah, I'll go. And you said, good, because I already bought the tickets and they're $1,200 a piece.
Yeah.
And I was just like, this SOB.
Yeah, I had already bought them like a week and a half before.
Yeah. And we went up there and we got all, what do they say?
Spiffed up?
Yeah, well, that's the back. Now they're suited up. We got all suited and booted, or whatever the hell they say.
I bought a brand new pair of Adidas from the Adidas store in New York City.
We got in there and we gave them our tickets, and they're like, ooh, big tickets. And I'm just like, yeah, hell yeah, big tickets.
We fueled up on drinks.
Yeah.
And
yes, we did.
Our edibles were timed correctly.
Perfectly.
And we sit front row. We watch.
And we sit down, and we're sitting next to someone who, to me, suspiciously looks like, oh gosh, what?
Quincy Jones.
Quincy Jones. Thank you. It could have been Quincy Jones. It probably wasn't Quincy Jones, but it may have been Quincy Jones. So we watched the set, and we see
Mohammed Amr.
Absolutely, yeah.
Mohammed Amr and Hannibal
so great.
Buress.
And Hannibal Buress came out unbeknownst to us, and I was like crying, laughing. I mean, walking across the stage, like, hey, I can shake your hand if I tried.
Yeah.
And then the DJ starts getting everybody hype because Dave's coming out.
Yeah.
And he's like, I want everybody to stand up. We're not friends tonight. We're all family tonight. Say hello to your friends to your left and your right and behind you, yada, yada. So we're saying hello, hello, hello.
He shook hands with Quincy Jones.
Quincy Jones shook Quincy Jones's hand. And all of a sudden, this young, beautiful woman comes over, and Quincy turns to me and he says, I think you're sitting in one of our seats. And I was like, what'd you say? Motherfucker. No.
Right.
I was like, what? Well, like, now is the time to bring this up? And he's like, yeah, I think you're in one of our seats. And I turned to you and I was like, Dave, is there an empty seat next to you? And you're like, these are our seats. We're not leaving, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what is happening right now? And he's like, I think you're in one of our seats. And all of a sudden, like, they call over the usher, and the usher, he's like, let me see your tickets. Let me see your tickets. And he's like, looks at theirs, and he looks at ours. And he looks at theirs, and he looks at ours. And the DJ is like, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Mr. Dave Chappelle. And the curtain starts going up, and you see that giant Chappelle C.
Yep.
And there's just smoke machine smoke coming off the stage. And the usher looks at us. He goes, "You two, come with me." And we're like, "What?" And he leads us up out of, and like I'm turning, and I'm like, "Here comes Dave onto the stage," and we're being led out of the establishment.
Radio City Music Hall.
Yeah, to the point where we get outside, and then we're complaining to the head usher, and she's like, "Well, there's nothing we can do.
Yeah, your tickets are fake. You bought them from StubHub.
You need to call StubHub." So then we had to go get our phones because they were locked up in the bags because you can't have them when you're during the show. And then once we got our phones and we take our phones out, you tried calling them, and I got on text message with them. And another usher comes up to us and is like, "You can't use your phones here. You need to go over there." And I'm like, "Where am I supposed to go?" Yeah, he goes, "You need to go out here." So effectively, in about 90 seconds, we went from sitting front row at Radio City Music Hall for Dave Chappelle and Childish Gambino to standing on the sidewalk outside.
With the scalpers trying to sell us fucking tickets to get back in.
Yeah.
And here's the problem. I would have turned into a full-blown mega Karen. Like, I would have raged so hard, like Super Saiyan Karen. But I ate about 35 milligrams more of edibles than I normally do because I wanted to be lit.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like a docile lion that just took a trank dart to the ass. I'm just like, oh, we got to go outside. Okay, well, fuck it. That's what we got to do.
And then one of the scalpers wanted to buy our tickets fully knowing that they were fake.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm not letting you do that
and
to
then
somebody.
he tried to sell us tickets to get back in.
Right.
It's like, well,
right.
fool me once.
And then we're walking away, and I said, you were disappointed, as you should well have been.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, Dave, look on the bright side. How many people get to say they sat in the front row of Radio City Music Hall and saw Hannibal Buress perform stand-up comedy for free?
For free, yeah. StubHub refunded our tickets. Fuck StubHub.
I've not used them ever since then.
Yeah, never, ever again. We should have just tried to buy some tickets and get back in, but instead we walked through New York City back to Hell's Kitchen. Before we got back to our hotel, we stopped in a little plaza. There was like some benches.
Yeah.
And we just sat there and thought about how bad it sucked that Childish Gambino was out there killing it. Dave fucking murdered the show. And we were just sitting on a bench looking at the fucking sky.
I was counting $1,200 back in my bank account.
You were happy about that.
I wasn't happy about it, but it was the bright side.
Yeah, that was one of the most disappointing things. And
on top of that, is that where you're going?
No, go ahead.
We get back to the
where I'm going.
We go back to the hotel room, and all Dave wants is a calzone.
Yeah.
He's like, this. What's gonna make Dave feel better tonight?
Stress eating much?
A calzone. So he calls the pizza place, and they're like, we're not doing calzones right now. And he's like, what? He's like, are you doing pizzas? And they're like, yeah. And he's like, make me a calzone. And they wouldn't do it, and it was like the end of your world.
Yeah, dude. I mean, you can't see Dave Chappelle. You can't see Childish Gambino. They can't fold a fucking pizza in half and make me a calzone.
Right.
Like, what are you guys doing? I thought this was New York.
Yeah. What do you mean you don't have calzones?
Where I was going with it is, had we went the full Karen route and like contacted the news and shit like that couple in South Carolina a couple of years ago, they got sold fake tickets to see Dave, and then they complained to the news about it, and then he shows up at their dinner and gifts them tickets and shit. We're like, damn.
I really would have wished that he would have seen us getting tossed out and made a thing about it right then and there.
Yeah,
and then we could have explained it. He would have been like, why don't you come sit up here on the stage with me? And I'd be like, okay, Dave.
Yeah, as a comedian, that is definitely not. As you come out, you're not paying attention to
anybody.
Especially in that front row. We just saw Tom Segura front row at Playhouse Square.
Yeah.
And, he maybe looked down 2 times the entire show. Most of the time he's got, tunnel vision out in the crowd. But yeah, that honestly, that fucked me up for a minute. I didn't do comedy for a couple weeks, and then I said I'm not going back to New York City until they fucking pay me. No leisure in New York. I'm only going if it's work.
Right.
So, all right. Well, we've come to the portion of the podcast where we ask the hard-hitting questions. So,
None of those were hard-hitting questions?
were they?
I mean,
I
we
don't know.
delved, bro.
Listen, I told you I did some research. So,
Oh, wow.
Ante, let me ask you this.
Yes.
Zasto tako otejavas zolio maski.
One more time.
Zasto tako otejavas zolio masi. Why do you give your mother such a hard time?
Oh,
In flawless Croatian.
it was perfect.
What the fuck is Paul doing? What, are you about to piss your pants?
Literally.
Dude, we got bottles, piss in a can. There's a fucking Twisted Tea can over here.
I literally almost, but
We're just
that's
gonna-
a good point. We're running low on batteries, what is on it, so let's start wrapping.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got like 5 rapid fire questions, and then that's it.
I hate to rush.
How? That's the other thing. That's the other thing. I meant to get a clock so I could know where we're at, because I have no idea where are we at.
Yeah, we're
A fucking hour and a half.
because I've been hitting different clips, but we're probably probably right at an hour.
Yeah, this portion of it's probably fucking long as shit.
That's good. It's been good though. You've been killing it. Perfect.
Thanks.
Yeah, let's just fucking knock out those last couple questions.
Yeah, one would be surprised to see this portion of it versus how the earlier session went.
Yeah.
Why did he close it?
What's the words? Zašto tako?
It says zasto,
Zašto?
zasto
Zašto
taco
tako?
otejavas,
How do you spell it?
OTEZ with the thing over it.
Oteživaš
Otejivas zvojo
svoju majku.
Michael. Is that? Hold on a second.
Uzrjavaš.
hold on,
Yeah,
hold on.
what- yeah, I got it. Majci. Hoćeš da govorim s tvoj dobar dan, kako si?
Dobro.
Kako se zoveš?
Kako su ti?
Jako dobro.
Zašto tako otejavas zvojo Maxi?
Znaš, nije tako lako jer ona mene uzrujava stalno. Svaki dan me smeta zbog nečeg bedasto. I ako bi samo pustila i bi se malo smijela i bila malo cool, onda sve bi bilo drugšije.
Potpuno.
Potpuno. Ja.
Google translates the shit. Why did he close the garage behind him? He can't get back in. Is he leaving?
No idea.
Was he peeing? Is that what he was doing?
I think he is. Or is he gonna knock on the fucking garage when he comes back? Are we paused right now?
No, we're still
Oh,
playing.
we're running. Okay. Well,
All right.
Do we want to keep going until before he gets back?
Let's get to rapid fire question 2.
Okay. Well, we probably need to run that one back, huh?
Question 1.
Because he interrupted, or we
No,
leave it
no,
in?
yeah. I'll edit
Okay.
it on it.
All right.
He stopped. He did it when you had stopped, so it was.
Right on. So, Ante,
Yeah.
let me ask you this. How many minutes of slow motion would be in the Ante cut of Justice League?
How many minutes? Like 3.5.
3.5 compared to the 18.5 that was in the Snyder cut?
Yes. Yeah, there was a whole lot of nonsensical slow motion in that movie.
Right on.
He even extended it to add more slow-mo, and I didn't understand it at all.
Okay. Let me ask you this, Ante. What's it like putting up with my fat spilling into your seat when we attend events together?
You know, I've come to not mind it terribly. I mean, like you mentioned at the top of the show, we've known each other for 22, 23 some odd years. We've grown pretty close in that time. And, you know, it's just something that you live with your friends. You know, we're both there to have a good time, and we're there together to see the show or the Browns game or whatever we're doing. And, dude, it just comes with the friendship. If you either get in close or, you know, you're not really friends.
Well, you're a real mensch. Let me ask you this. If you could be a fictional character,
Yeah.
or I'm sorry, my apologies. If you could have any fictional character as your friend, who would it be and why would it be John McClane?
Why would it be John McClane? It would be John McClane, and because man, he's gotten himself out of a lot of sticky situations many times on holidays. So
Yeah. Right. Welcome to the party, pal.
yeah,
Sure.
does it sound like I'm ordering a fucking pizza? But the real answer to your question will be Elvira, so I can have sex with her all the time.
You're good.
No, I'm just talking.
These ones on the small side cameras are.
They're still going?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because the actual answer he gave was phenomenal, way better than John McClane.
I got that. We got pretty much.
Oh, okay.
And that would be consensual as well. 'Cause,
Well, yeah.
I mean,
When you met Elvira,
Yes.
was there electricity between you?
100% no. No, it was a great moment. She was autographing my arm, and I had my face resting on her shoulder, and she said, "You're not drooling on me back there, are you?" And I said, No, I'm just smelling here because I needed to get a whiff of what Elvira smelled like.
Yeah, man. Sometimes you got to get a sniff.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, even though you already answered it. If you could have any superpower, why would it be flight?
I didn't actually mean that it would be flight. I was just answering your question earlier. Like, do you mean flight?
Oh,
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
It would probably, if I could do time travel, I would do time travel if that's a superpower. If not, it would be,
What do you mean?
what?
What do you mean? Is it a superpower? Isn't that Hero?
It's just science, I guess.
Isn't Hero Nakamura?
Yeah, I guess so, yeah. Hiro Nakamura. Yeah. So then, yes, time travel because I'm fascinated with it.
Yeah, there's a learning curve. You could fuck some shit up, but
Yeah,
if
well,
you master it, you're dope.
absolutely.
Sure. Okay. Well, let me ask you this. What do you do better than anyone else you know?
Everything.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you for tuning in to Let Me Ask You This. This week, my guest has been Ante Saric. Check out his Christmas album on YouTube. Ontavious, All You Want for Christmas Is Me. Tune in to see Tis the Season 3.
Coming at you this holiday season.
This holiday season. You do that on Facebook.
I do, but we might switch it over to YouTube. We'll see.
Yeah, you totally should. I mean, literally, if you're streaming, you could probably put it on multiples at the same time.
Yeah, it would make sense.
All right. Well, thanks, and I appreciate you spending your time with me this afternoon. I hope you had fun.
Absolutely, Dave. Thank you for having me.
All right. Wrap it up. During the segment Cut the Deck, the guests will have an opportunity to split a playing card. For each time they miss, they have to cut a deck of cards that has questions, and then they have to answer that question in order to get another throw. When they hit or split the card, they win the prize.
Oh. Based on my performance today, I'm not feeling overly confident, but anything can happen.
Believe in yourself. What key life advice did you learn from children?
Ooh. Key life advice I learned from children is that every day can be the best day ever as long as it involves something that you think is the best. Like having a cheeseburger could make it the best day ever. A thunderstorm could make it the best day ever. No matter what it is, something can make it the best day ever. And I'm not supposed to do this. You got me, one more.
Where in your life do you feel misunderstood?
I don't know that I feel misunderstood at all, to be honest with you. I mean, I try and put myself out there 100% who I am all the time. Like, this is me, whether I'm on social media or in person. I don't think I'm really misunderstood. I put it plain and clear. This is Ante, and you get what you get.
Grab your axes. Do you want to keep going?
Yeah, I'll do one more. All right, this will be the last one.
If you could live in a sitcom, which one would it be and why?
100% I would live in the sitcom community because that group of people is the funniest group of people I've seen on television, and they just have those personalities where I would, I feel like I would just fit right in, and I would, Troy and Abed and Ante in the morning.
Follow-up question.
Yeah.
I can't remember their goddamn names. Annie or Bree?
Britta.
100%
Britta. 100% Britta every time. Ain't no doubt about it.
Team Annie all day. All right. What's that?
Vital moment.
How do I forget our fucking secret handshake? Thanks for watching Let Me Ask You This. You know how social media works and how it helps to like, subscribe, and ring the bell and comment and do all those things. But most importantly, share this with somebody who you think would like it. Check back monthly for new episodes and then possibly more frequently in the future. And we'll see you next time.